The following program is paid for by Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 7233. Tina Mitchell, MLO 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Gateway Mortgage Group. Contact your local branch for more information. You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, sponsored by Gateway Mortgage Group. Now in the studio, local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome to the Money Hour on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, November 26th show. I'm your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell. My goal is to keep you up to date on the latest news and trends in our local economy. Keep me tuned in, and I will keep you informed. If you're hearing my show at a different day or time, you're listening to a rebroadcast, but I'm here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests that I have on the show today. Please call at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And my lineup for the show today, Greg Nunn with Gregory S. Nunn Company. It's the end of the year, and that means it's time for year-end tax planning. So we'll talk to Greg about that. Also in studio, Sondra Earley with Earley Insurance Solutions. We're going to talk about Medicare. Doesn't have to be complicated. She's going to break it down to make it a little bit easier than you may think that it can be. And last guest in studio, I have Frank and Lisa Civilly with the Cascade team. We're going to talk about business coaching and business value. So it'll be a great conversation with the two of them. Great information and great guests in studio. For more information on any topic discussed, please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And here's today's Money Chat.
Money.
It's been pretty crazy after the election when it comes to mortgage interest rates. That's what I do full time as a mortgage professional. Sometimes I bring in during Money Chat something in my arena, sometimes in other arenas regarding financing. But today I thought it would be appropriate to talk about mortgage interest rates and how they work, why they're moving, and what they're based on. So if you watch the Fannie Mae 30-year bond, you'll notice that it's dropped over 200 basis points very quickly since the election. Now, mortgage rates follow the bond market and based on the Fannie Mae 30-year bond. Similar to corporate bonds, mortgage-backed bonds trade all day, every day, and mortgage rates will follow based on how the bond market's trading. In general, as the price of the mortgage-backed bonds change, so will today's interest rates. That applies to conventional mortgages backed by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, bonds for FHA, VA, and USDA backed by Ginnie Mae and Ginnie Mae mortgage bonds. Now, the price of mortgage bond is based by supply and demand. So Wall Street's demand for mortgage bond increases, all things equal, mortgage bond prices rise. Mortgage rates move in the opposite direction of mortgage bond prices. So if they're trading higher, mortgage rates drop. If they're trading lower, mortgage rates will increase. Demand for mortgage bonds can change for multiple reasons, and most common is the risk avoidance because most mortgage-backed bonds are guaranteed by the U.S. government. They're considered extra safe and unlikely to default. So during periods of economic uncertainty, mortgage bonds tend to be in a higher demand, which means that the mortgage interest rates are going to go down. So if mortgage bonds are trading at a higher price, mortgage rates will decrease. Mortgage bonds are trading at a lower price, mortgage interest rates are going to go up. So we've seen the bond market drop, the Fannie Mae 30-year bond market drop very quickly, which means that we've seen interest rates go up. So here's the thing that you may not realize is that it shows that there's consumer confidence. When mortgage bonds are trading at a lower price, that shows consumer confidence. Now, why is that? Because they're pulling investors are pulling out of the bond market and they're going in for a higher return, which would be the stock market. That means that they have confidence in what's happening in the economy. Now, when consumer confidence is down or there's economic news that's being released in a negative, then investors get concerned and worried. They pull out of the stock market. They go back into the bond market. Safer return, even though it's a lower return. So with everything that's happened, it's still showing that we have consumer confidence. Now, there's some confusion sometimes in how mortgage rates work, and this is how they don't work. Aside from loan level pricing adjustments, there are no other direct forces on the U.S. rate. So, for an example, commonly said that you'll hear today's interest rates follow the path of the 10-year Treasury note, which is another government-backed insurer. This is not true. Over the course of years, mortgage rates and the 10-year Treasury note will track together. Usually you'll see them track similar, but not all the time. There's plenty of days on which mortgage bonds and the Treasury notes are different. So if you're following what mortgage rates are doing, you're not following the 10-year Treasury, but instead you're following the Fannie Mae 30-year bond. Now, the Fed funds rate is also not linked to mortgage interest rates. Another myth out there. You hear that the Feds are increasing the Fed rate, which means that mortgage rates are going up. Not true, because they're following, again, the Fannie Mae 30. Sometimes it may, but not all the time. So the Fed fund rate is an overnight interest rate at which banks borrow money from each other, and it's an interest rate fixed by the Federal Reserve and used to speed up or slow down the economy. So the Fed fund rate and the 30-year mortgage have varied as much as 0.5% in points over the last 10 years, and by as little as maybe 0.5% of a point in the same period of time. So if the Fed's plan to slow down the economy works, mortgage rates will go down, because slower economy means a stronger bond market. Investors want the security of the bond market. If the Fed's plan to slow down the economy does not work, then the bond market is dropping in trading price because investors are interested in getting into the stock market for the higher return, and mortgage rates go up. So just a little bit about mortgage interest rates and how they work. I do want to give one more shout out for shopping interest rates. A lot of times you may think that shopping interest rates is going to be a benefit to you. Maybe looking at your mortgage consultant, the company that you're working with, having competitive rates prior to making an offer on a home. But I'll tell you, once your offer is accepted, you need to be in a position to move forward with the lender that you're going to be working with. So anything that you want to do prior to contract is fine, but once you're under contract, you want to make a decision who you're going with. Now, looking at interest rates, again, working like the stock market, the bond market trades different every day. So if you're looking at what a rate would be today versus what a rate would have been on yesterday or tomorrow, it can be completely different. We've seen interest rates adjust by 0.5% within 2 days in the recent times. So it's really hard to be shopping for interest rates. You need to make a decision, move forward, and get your purchase contract going. Coming up next in the Money Hour, are you ready for year-end tax planning with Greg Nunn with Gregory S. Nunn & Company right here on 1150 AM KKNW after the short break.
Have you saved enough to provide for the retirement you envision? Is your current lifestyle putting your future at risk? Are you struggling to prioritize financial goals? These are questions all investors have. Brooke Anderson with Kaizen Financial Advisors helps individuals just like you navigate the complex world of financial decision making. Brooke can help you design a retirement plan that will give you confidence as you look to the future. Kaizen Financial Advisors take a holistic approach to your financial life and will make recommendations that encompass all of your priorities. Brooke Anderson will explain the issues and his recommendations in a simple and understandable way. Brooke wants to know and understand you both personally and financially. He'll emphasize a simple, low-cost, and diversified investment philosophy grounded in academic research. He's a CPA, MBA, and a registered financial advisor working in a fiduciary capacity for his clients.
To learn more about what Kaizen Financial Advisors can do for you, call me, Brooke Anderson, at 425-321-5801. Again, that's Brooke Anderson at 425-321-5801. I look forward to hearing about you and helping you on your path to financial security.
Are you behind in filing your tax returns? Does the IRS claim you owe them money, but you can't pay? Are you getting nasty grams from the IRS? Are you losing sleep? Please know your tax problems can be solved. Work locally and actually meet the person that'll help you with your tax problems and not some faceless national firm. Call None Better Tax Resolution today at 1-844-SOS-1040 for a free confidential consultation. Again, call 844-SOS-1040 today and start fixing your tax problems so you can sleep peacefully.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, November 26th show. I am committed to providing you knowledge needed to be successful in every area regarding your finances. Knowledge is power, and that's what you'll receive from listening to the show today. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but you can call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And in studio right now, I have Greg Nunn with Gregory S. Nunn and Associates. Greg, thanks for coming back in studio.
You bet, Tina. How you doing?
Little tongue twister, getting out your name and your company followed by it.
I understand that.
Excited to have a conversation with you today and share with my listeners about year-end tax planning. Yep. Just like anything else, we don't want to procrastinate, and this is something that you want to be taking care of and getting wrapped up for the year now. So a little bit about Greg. Gregory Nunn is founder and principal of Nunn Better Tax Resolution in Redmond, Washington, the first firm of tax resolution specialists in Washington State. His passion is helping people that find themselves in a predicament with the IRS due to failing to file tax returns and or not paying what the IRS claims that they owe. He represents these troubled taxpayers vigorously before the IRS. His practice also provides tax preparation and tax planning for individual and business. Gregory is a licensed CPA in the state of Washington and been in the industry for over 30 years. He's a member of the American Society of Tax Problem Solvers, the premier associate of professionals helping troubled taxpayers, and he has received the Top Practitioner Award for the American Society of Tax Problem Solvers. Also certified tax resolution specialist, and Greg has published his book titled Solve Your Tax Problems Now. So Greg, this show is always about making sure that we're prepared financially for all arenas when it comes to our money, and reason why is so you can have a better quality of life for you and your family. That's what I like to share with my listeners, and so it's an appropriate time to talk about year-end tax planning. What are the basic year-end tax planning?
Yeah, the whole idea really about tax planning when it comes to near the end of the year is tax timing, and that really means how or what timing am I going to have my income? That is, do I want to have income in this year or more income in next year? Mm-hmm. And then vice versa with the deductions. That is, do I want those deductions this year or do I want those next year? And there are some ways to adequately do the timing on your income and deductions to possibly give you a much better tax scenario.
Yeah, and I know, Greg, there's a lot of incentives and things that come in and come out every year. And so for 2016, what tax breaks are scheduled to expire at the end of this year?
Yeah, it's really interesting. As we know over the years, it's like we all, especially in the state of Washington, with bated breath, wondering if we're going to continue to get our sales tax deduction. Mm-hmm. That's actually one that's going to continue for a while, so we don't have to worry about that one. However, there's two major ones related to the homeowners.
Okay.
One of those is the discharge of indebtedness on your principal residence. Here's what I mean. There was a special rule passed that allowed people to get rid of their homes that were upside down.
Yes.
And ordinarily, when you have debt forgiveness, oddly enough, it becomes taxable income.
You get that 1099 in the mail.
And you get it. You got it. Mm-hmm. You got it. However, the way it has been is that because of the economic burden that it was putting on everybody, that was being delayed. That is, people could sell their home, have debt forgiveness on the mortgage, and have no tax to pay on that.
Okay.
That's scheduled to expire at the end of this year.
So do you think is it really going to for sure happen? Because it's scheduled, but they keep extending it, and so...
I think it will be...
Hard to say?
Hard to say. We won't know until next year, that's for sure.
I know.
But I think so much of it depends on, okay, well, how many people do we think are still overly burdened,
makes sense.
by being upside down.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Anything else, Greg, scheduled to expire?
A lot of people, based on their income, might be able to deduct their mortgage insurance premiums.
Yes.
Which has been fantastic.
It has.
And that's scheduled to expire at the end of this year as well.
Interesting. So it'll be interesting to see if they bring those back.
It will be. Okay. I think the mortgage insurance premium thing probably has a better chance.
I agree.
I mean, that's my personal opinion. And it depends on what the Don does, you know.
Yeah, another show for that, Greg. Anything else that's getting ready, scheduled to expire?
Yeah, way back when, about 3-4 years ago, Congress, in its wisdom, decided that they were going to change the floor as to what someone could deduct for medical expenses.
Okay. From
$7,500, that is, it has to exceed that, and the amount that exceeds that you can use as an itemized deduction. They changed that to $10,000, except for those that are age 65.
Okay.
That provision for those that are 65 is scheduled to expire at the end of this year as well. So it could be that next year they're sitting there at $10,000 as the minimum that they need to have to itemize their medical expenses.
Wow.
Therefore, this is a great tax planning opportunity, and that is if you're age 65, schedule those appointments before the end of the year, get those medical things done that you were probably going to get done next year anyway, get those deductions in 2016, and then wait and see what happens next year.
Got it. So, Greg, what about things that are going to be continuing into 2017?
Yeah, the biggest thing I think I already mentioned, that is the sales tax deduction. Fortunately, those of us in the state of Washington, there's a very important deduction to us because we have no state income tax. A person's been able to deduct their state income taxes for years and years and years, but the sales tax things kind of come in and out over the years. In fact, there were a few years we couldn't even deduct our sales tax, which was really a stinker. But now for states that have sales tax only, like us, state of Washington, looks like it's going to be around for a while.
Okay. Anything else? Any other big things sticking around?
Oh, I'm sure there are other big ones, but I'm not omniscient. But I know that the sales tax one is one we always worry about.
Got it. So, Greg, if you own stock, what are some strategies that you should be considering?
Yeah, this is a really great planning opportunity. So meet with your financial planner or whoever you are advisor and go over this. And a lot of people will look at their portfolio at the end of the year and try to make decisions on, okay, well, what do I want to keep and what do I want to get rid of? If you have a bunch of capital gains that you already have from the sale of securities, and say you have some stocks that are dogs and you just want to get rid of them, take the loss on those, match those up against your gains, and minimize any kind of capital gain income you might have. It's a great little strategy.
So I'd like you to give a shout out with a financial advisor, because really the end of the year is really planning with your financial advisor in conjunction with your professional CPA.
I mean, if you have a portfolio, meet with your advisor.
Yes.
Go over it.
So, Greg, what are some traditional IRA and Roth IRA strategies that you can talk about?
This is an interesting one, because it does provide a great planning opportunity. And that is, you might be in a year where your income is lower than it ordinarily is. And you got this IRA account sitting there. So you may want to consider converting that regular IRA to a Roth IRA and pay the tax on that now.
Okay.
Because you'll be in a lower tax bracket right now.
Yep.
The trade-off is that keep in mind that if you do the rollover, you got to pay the tax. So that tax, in theory, that you paid isn't sitting there in that investment account anymore.
Okay.
So it could take you a number of years to try to make that up, if you will. So that needs to be part of the consideration is, if I move the money and pay the tax, what will the growth look like in that account? And if I don't move the money, what would the growth look like in that account? And make a financial decision.
See what makes most sense.
Exactly.
So, Greg, what if you are receiving a year-end bonus from your employer?
In smaller companies, this is much easier to do than larger ones. But if you're looking at getting a year-end bonus and your income is already in a pretty high tax bracket, hey, see if you can talk to your employer into getting that to you next year.
Okay.
Or vice versa. Maybe you really do want it this year, but hey, it's good to know instead of being caught by surprise that you had 25% withheld, but you owe another 10% in tax. Yeah,
exactly. So what about accelerating some deductions? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, the acceleration of deductions. Again, this is, I would say, for the prudent financial person, what I'm about to say. I'm not a believer in credit card debt. However, if you're able to manage that well and you need more deductions in 2016, you can actually put charitable contributions on your credit card and get the deduction in 2016.
Okay.
So maybe you'll accelerate a bunch of deductions that you're going to be doing anyway in 2017, put them on your credit card, but don't do it just to get the tax advantage. Make sure you've got the financial wherewithal to get that card paid off. Don't let the tax tail wag the dog.
And, you know, it's just, I can't say enough, and always doing a shout out for really having your team of people in line when it comes to your finances and strategizing, because there's so many opportunities that you can, in this conversation, pay less taxes, or worst case, pay a lot more. So finding out what those strategies are that are specific to your own situation. So Greg, from our listeners over 64, what is this that you hear about the floor for medical deductions going up?
Exactly.
Okay.
And I sorry I answered this question. I got ahead of myself. Apologize to everybody. But it comes back to getting that deduction now.
Yes.
If it's going to go from 7,500 floor to a 10,000 floor, hey, that's a pretty big difference. There's $2,500. You're in a 20% tax bracket. You just saved over $400. So
Got it.
It's worth it.
Okay.
It's a nice dinner.
So you've got a flexible spending account with your employer. And first, what is and how is this can be a tax benefit with you?
Flexible spending accounts are a fantastic benefit if your employer offers that.
Okay.
It's the ability to set aside some money that you can utilize for your out-of-pocket medical expenses. The maximum amount contributable to a FSA for 2016 is $2,550. It's going up by $50 for next year, so $2,600. But it gives you the ability to set that money aside, and it's after tax, so it's fantastic. You don't have to pay your taxes on it. The caveat is this: it depends on the plan your employer has. A lot of them is you have to use all that money up by the end of the year or you lose it.
Yeah.
Others provide a carryover provision of being able to use it for the following 2.5 months of the following year, or a carryover of $500. So make sure you know what's going on with that so you don't put money aside, get the tax advantage, and end up losing more money than the tax advantage provided you.
Yeah, I didn't realize that I've never been with a company that's had that, but that could be devastating financially.
It could. Use it or lose it.
So if you know your kids are getting braces and you've got an idea of what that's going to cost, then go ahead and prepare for that.
You betcha.
So what about health savings account? How can these be beneficial?
These health savings accounts, in my opinion, are just awesome. They're only available right now for those that are in a high deductible plan, which is defined, I think it's right now if your deductibles are over $10,000. So, I mean, it's a plan whereby it's really covering your catastrophic events, everything else up to that you got to pay for out of pocket. But you have the opportunity to do a health savings account, kind of like the a flexible spending account. You set the money aside. It's got to be utilized for medical expenses. And you get the tax deduction for putting money into this health savings account. And one of the really awesome things is if you don't use it all, it carries over. It's your money forever.
Yeah.
You don't lose it. So if you're a pretty healthy person, you can go with a high deductible plan, save a ton of money on your medical premiums, and at the same time put money into a health savings account that can carry over year to year.
Wow.
That could really, maybe you'll have a few years down the road where you have one of those unfortunate catastrophic events and now you're out of pocket $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, but fortunately you got that health savings account to take care of it for you.
Yeah, great tip, Dave, Greg. So I said Dave, my husband, which you know because you do our taxes.
Great guy. Dave's a great guy. Anyone that knows Dave is blessed, that's for sure.
Exactly. And he's already got all of our stuff taken care of, no doubt. Hey, so Greg, I've got a minute here. I've got to take us to break, but biggest mistake for my listeners to watch out for?
Biggest mistake to watch out for. How about if I twist that around and say the best thing that you can do?
All righty.
And that is...
I was trying to put some fear factor in there.
I know.
Go ahead.
Well, let's see. Maybe I can come up with some fear. Just keep in mind the IRS knows everything about you, and they'll come get you if you don't pay your taxes. However, having said that, the best thing is document everything that you deduct.
Got it.
And that will relieve that concern you might have about an audit. You still might get audited by the IRS, but by golly, if you have all of that documentation, you're going to put that auditor at a stop. They're going to be very happy. They'll just go, fantastic, good job, and move on.
Awesome. And I'm going to say this because I've heard you say it many times in air is, procrastinate, don't do it. If you owe money, pay the money. If you don't have the money, talk to your CPA and find out how you can put a plan together. Don't not pay attention to it. You got to deal with it. So
file the tax return.
The tax return.
Even
Greg,
if you can't pay.
Exactly. Greg, thank you so much again for coming in studio.
All right, Tina.
Coming up next on the Money Hour, do you think Medicare is complicated? It doesn't have to be. I've got Sondra Earley with Earley Insurance Solutions right here at 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.
Are you behind in filing your tax returns? Does the IRS claim you owe them money, but you can't pay? Are you getting nasty grams from the IRS? Are you losing sleep? Please know your tax problems can be solved. Work locally and actually meet the person that'll help you with your tax problems and not some faceless national firm. Call None Better Tax Resolution today at 1-844-SOS-1040 for a free confidential consultation. Again, call 844-SOS-1040 today and start fixing your tax problems so you can sleep peacefully.
Are you frustrated with hiring a realtor to sell your home and all they do is take pictures with their cell phone, put the listing in the MLS, put a sign in the yard and a key box on the door and wait for it to sell? And they get all that commission? At Centrex Real Estate, they get paid based on how long your house is on the market. If Centrex Real Estate sells your home in the first month, you pay a 1% listing fee. If Centrex Real Estate sells your home in the second month, you pay a 2% listing fee. If Centrex Real Estate sells your home anytime after 2 months on the market, then you pay a 3% listing fee. Basically, the faster your home sells, the less you'll pay for the listing fee. Some restrictions and minimums do apply. Centrex Real Estate is a full-service real estate brokerage. They'll spend as much time with you that's needed to help you get your home ready for the market. Your home will be staged by an accredited stager. They'll assist you in lighting design. They'll have a professional photographer take photos of your home, and they will design a top-notch marketing campaign for you. To learn more about what Centrex Real Estate can do for you, you can contact them at 206-715-6886.
Hi, this is Sherry Carchano with Centrex Real Estate. You can contact me at 206-715-6886. Again, that's 206-715-6886.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert Tina Mitchell right here at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, November 26th show. I provide you the news on everything money, fresh information on market trends and conditions on our local economy. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast to talk with the amazing guests that I have in studio or anything you'd like to chat with me about, feel free to call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And right now in studio, Sondra Earley with Earley Insurance Solutions, and we're going to be talking about Medicare and how it really doesn't have to be that complicated. And Sondra's really good at kind of breaking things down for us and making it simple. Sondra, thank you so much for joining me back in studio.
Thank you, Tina. It's great to be here.
And a little bit about Sondra. Sondra has been an insurance professional for over 15 years with progressive experience in personal lines and commercial lines insurance, sales of security and investment products. Sondra has proven track record and reputation for cross-marketing sales production and new market development. She is highly skilled in providing training, coaching, and consultation. Sondra has proven success in program project manager and project team development, working with the best companies in the field. Sondra has developed stellar relationships with the underwriters in each insurance company that she works with, and she works tirelessly for her customers and is known for her relationship building skills. So I'm excited for my listeners to hear how to simplify Medicare and how it doesn't have to be that complicated. So Sondra, what is open enrollment for Medicare?
Open enrollment is for people who either, one, are renewing their insurance, taking a look at new insurance, or just coming into the marketplace, turning 65.
And what about eligibility? When are you eligible for Medicare?
You're eligible for Original Medicare when you turn 65. Mm-hmm. Or if you have an unfortunate event such as qualifying disability. Or there may be some other special involvement medically that allows you to come into Medicare.
Okay. So, Sondra, what about some choices? Can you break down the different choices that you have for choosing Medicare?
Absolutely. So, when you're eligible for Medicare, having been in this country for 5 years, and 65, at least 65, or with a disability, you have options. You have Original Medicare. You can be enrolled also in a supplement plan, also known as Medigap, or you can be involved in Plan C, which is now known as Medicare Advantage.
Okay.
So you have those opportunities. And the gamut would be, most of the plans now are HMO plans. The other options are PPOs. There are some other options that are out there, POS and PPFS plans, depending on where you live and how you want to access your providers.
So you mentioned Medicare Advantage.
Yes.
What is Medicare Advantage?
Medicare Advantage. Let's call it a Medicare Complete Plan, because as you know, Original Medicare takes care of Plan A and B, which Plan A is for the hospital, Plan P is for the medical part of the plan. So if you have Original Medicare, the government also wants you to have a prescription drug plan. That prescription drug plan, it can be separate or it could be standalone. Standalone or can be included into your Medicare Advantage plan. So Medicare Advantage plans come in 2 flavors. I'll call it MAPD, that's Med Advantage plan, with a prescription drug plan or without a prescription drug plan.
So you're choosing which plan makes most sense.
Which plan makes most sense for you.
And while we're on that note, Sondra, I mean, really what you're doing for your clients is you're working with them and breaking everything down to help them determine what the best plan is. So even though we're breaking it down to make it easy, talking with you're going to help them figure that out, correct?
Correct. So I teach from a standpoint of something easy to remember. I call it the ABC and Ds of Medicare. And so folks get very confused when they come out of, say, corporate plans or private plans.
Yes.
And they're paying, well, they really don't know what they're paying, but they're being subsidized. The plans could cost them $500, $600 a month into a plan that's less than that.
Yes.
And what does that mean? So I take them from A, B, C, and D. And A starts with, as I said, Original Medicare. Some folks like that because it's affordable for them. It's kind of a pay-as-you-go system. And then they can add on the prescription drug plan. Some folks just want the all-in-one plan, which is, I call it the supermarket of plans. It's Plan C. That is a Medicare Complete. It is A, B, and Part D, the prescription drug plan, equals C. A little bit backwards in the equation, but that's what it is. And for those that don't want to really stumble around with different cards, they may choose a supplement plan, which is good for any state, any doctor who is contracted by Medicare.
Got it. Okay. Sondra, what is Medigap or Medicare supplement insurance?
So let me break that down a little bit. So I call it Original Medicare on steroids. And the reason I call it that is because it's going to pay for almost everything that Original Medicare doesn't cover except for the PDP, the prescription drug plan.
Okay.
So it's one card, kind of fits all. So that's what Medigap is. It covers the gaps.
Covers that gap. Makes sense.
Okay.
So can you cancel your policy if you want to change your mind, you decide you don't like it?
Sure. And during the open enrollment period, you can cancel it up until December 7th. So let me just back up just a second and say open enrollment begins October the 15th and runs through the end of December 7th. The last date, I've filed some plans at 12 midnight on December the 7th.
Okay,
just
wow.
beating. But December 7th. Okay, after that, let's say you have your plan that's going to be effective 1/1/2017. What happens next? You get in there and you decide you don't like the doctors, you don't like the model, you don't like any of it. What do? You can cancel beginning January 1st through February 14th. What happens then, you'll go back to original Medicare, Part A and B, and find a D.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
so that's what you'll have. So if you had great impact or great position with your Medicare Part C or Plan C, that's no longer. You'll just have to go back to the original and wait for the next open enrollment period, which will begin October 15th through December 7th of the following year.
So in all of our careers having to do with money, there's always that sense of urgency, and there's always planning that you want to do to make sure that you fall within those timelines. So your services, Sondra, do you do initial consultation? Is there a fee associated to that?
There are no fees.
Okay. What about your services if they hire and work with you? How do you get paid?
Basically, I get paid by the insurance companies.
Got it.
And I work with the top 7, at least the top 7 in my book. And, what we do is start with a needs assessment. I'll talk to the folks. I'll ensure that they are Medicare eligible or in one way or another, and then we'll go down the list. And I like to have them sit back and think about what their gene pool looks like as well. So do they have longevity in their family?
Yeah.
Are there specific issues that they may have medically? And then we'll talk about the doctor that they love, that they can't get rid of. We'll talk about the hospitals. We'll talk about any other impacting medical things that they may have, even though I may not ask them specifically, what is it? They're reflecting, and now it's like, which place would you like to be?
Got it.
I don't like to talk about budget right up front, but that is an issue, and I know it's top of mind for most people, but let's do the needs assessment, find out what you really want, and then I will look at tailoring the plan for you.
Love it. Makes total sense. So if I have somebody listening, how can they connect with you, Sondra?
Please call me at 425-681-3253.
Perfect.
Or call the station, talk to Tina, and she'll shuttle it over to me.
Wonderful.
Or you can email me as well.
Perfect. And yeah, you can always go on themoneyhour.com and I can get you connected with Sondra. Sondra, really quickly here, I've got to wrap things up and take us to commercial. But when it comes to assets and what people have in their investments, how does that come into play when they're using Medicare?
When they're using Medicare, if they are low income or fixed income, they could get extra help from Social Security.
Okay.
There are ways to do that. And then working with some of the financial planners, they're also able to take a look at how to initialize their contribution and spread it out over the 12-month period. So they'll take a look at that as well. So, I work with several financial planners to try to help folks take a look at what's right for them.
Yeah, and I've met you a few years ago and have had you in studio on a regular basis because I just, I know you do a lot of speaking and a lot of education, which I'm really big on that, and that's really what the show's about. And I just really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for sharing your wealth of information with my listeners.
Thank you, Tina. I appreciate you.
Coming up next on the Money Hour, business coaching, business value. I've got Frank and Lisa Savali from the Cascade team right here at 1150 AM KKNW after the short break.
Have you ever thought about it? Where should mom and dad live? Should they live with me? Could they stay in their home? Is that even possible? Do you need to make this decision soon? Have these questions been revolving around in your mind recently or for a long time? Then you can trust Joyce Jonascheit with Encore Living Interiors to help you start finding the right answers for your questions. They will work with baby boomers and seniors who want to stay at home as they get older, but their homes aren't safe. Encore Living Interiors brings beauty, your personality, and security to your environment, empowering you to live a fulfilling life. Encore Living Interiors, better design for the second stage of your life.
This is Joyce Jonashite with Encore Living Interiors, and you can reach me at 253-221-3592, or you can go to my website, EncoreLivingInteriors.com.
Encore Living Interiors. Better design for the second stage of your life. The Rainier Group. Our business is finance, but our passion is people. Since 1988, helping business owners, individual investors, and nonprofit organizations achieve their business transition and financial objectives. The Rainier Group's seasoned investment professionals have a broad range of experience, including investment advice and consulting, business ownership transition, management succession, financial modeling and planning, and family office services. If you're a business owner or individual investor, let the professionals at the Rainier Group help you achieve your life's goals. The Rainier Group. Some firms focus on what you're worth. We focus on what you value. Visit www.rainiergroup.com.
This is Mark Pellegrino with the Rainier Group. For investment advice, call me at 425-463-3000 or email mpellegrino@rginv.com.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, this Saturday, November 26th show, bringing in expert advice and inside knowledge on today's events in our local economy and how it can affect your money. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. You can call the show at 1-855-400-1150 or go online to themoneyhour.com. Discuss anything that you'd like regarding your finances. More importantly, talk with any of the guests that I have in studio today. And right now, I've got Frank and Lisa Savali. We're going to be talking with both of them about little different topics, but both from the Cascade team, husband and wife, partners. And Lisa, this is the first time I think I've had you and had a conversation with you in studio. I've been able to talk with Frank a couple times, so thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And a little bit about Lisa and Frank. Frank and Lisa are, again, with the Cascade team, business and commercial property, property management, and residential sales and leasing. They specialize in business transfer sales, business valuations, commercial property, property management, residential sales, and provide full service property management services for residential, multifamily, and commercial properties. Lisa currently holds a managing broker's license for 20 years experience in the real estate industry. In addition, she holds a business broker specialist designation and business broker amenity acronym. She belongs to the NWMLS, Washington Association of Realtors, National Association of Realtors, and previously has been a member of Women's Council of Realtors. As a formal paralegal, detailed, conducts, and negotiates are also her specialty. And a little bit about Frank. Frank is retired Air Force officer, university professor. He is a past president of 2 publicly traded companies and previously owned a retail franchise. So lots of experience when it comes into the commercial arena. So, Lisa, what does an investor look for when purchasing multifamily and investment properties?
That's a good question. It depends on the investor. I have several investors. One will look for we're all looking for cap rates and a good definition of the capitalization rate. And I'm just going to read this because it's easier that way. But it's a measure used to compare different real estate investments. Although there are many valuations, a cap rate is often calculated as the ratio between the net operating income produced by an asset and the original capital cost, meaning the price paid to buy the asset, or alternatively, it's the current market value. So what that might mean is if I get a 10 cap rate, so that means the investor is going to be able to have that investment paid off within 10 years. So in this market right now, a 10 cap rate is amazing. So we haven't seen those in a while. We're looking for commercial loans. It has to be a minimum 4.5% cap rate in order to get the commercial loan. And that takes into consideration lots of things, not just the income and expenses. It takes into consideration the vacancy rate, which is 5%, the management fee, which even if you're going to self-manage, the bank is going to put that in there at 5%.
Yes.
Repairs and maintenance, called R&M, they're going to use $500 per unit. and they'll look at appraisal on that. So lots of them involved, and that's where I come into play, just knowing these things, knowing how the bank underwrites, and I'll do a worksheet just to get the investor ready to know they might be really never emotionally attached. It's always business.
Yeah.
So totally different than buying a house.
Yes.
So, we'll just take it from there with a worksheet and break it down. And if the cap looks good and the cash flow looks good and the asset can be grown, that's one of my investor. He kind of likes to buy. I've seen him buy at maybe a 3 or 4% cap rate, which is low, but we'll do market analysis and look at where the property is. So, for example, I just did a sixplex, and unfortunately, I had to be, as the property manager, the bearer of bad news to raise the rents, but we raised 50%.
Wow.
So his asset grew.
So you can go in and take a look at where it's at right now and know that it's not where it should be according to market, and have a huge opportunity. I'm glad you mentioned the emotional piece, because it's completely different, and it's a lot easier in the investment side because the numbers are what they are. So if you can release that emotional piece, and a lot of that is working with an expert that can say, here's what it is, here's what we can do and what we can't. So Lisa, what about the due diligence process?
So due diligence process is I'm gonna bundle due diligence and feasibility together. So if we're in a 4-plex or less, we're going to call it just due diligence or inspection. If we're in a 5-plex or more, then it's called feasibility, and it's on a commercial contract. But it really is the same thing. So we're going to go in and we're going to verify all the books and records and get copies of all the utilities, anything leased. We're actually going to have a physical inspection, and that's usually the first time the investor has actually gotten inside, because we don't want to go in and bring buyers through before we have a mutually agreed purchase contract. We just don't want to upset the tenants. Lots of times we don't want them to even know about it. So once we're ready to go, we give notice and we do the physical inspection and come back and take a look at, for example, I had one where it had all galvanized plumbing in a really old building. So that was something that the investor needed to factor in.
Perfect. So, Lisa, what about closing prorations, assumptions of leases, and what is involved, and how and what escrow company do you use?
Absolutely. So there's only certain escrow companies that can do this. There's different ones I use for house sales, but it's usually you have to ask them first, do you handle multifamily or commercial? And some of them will handle multifamily, others will not handle commercial. So I have a couple of really good ones, and you can also use attorney escrow. But mainly the goal of the escrow agent is and we help as the agents and brokers get copies of all the leases. Those leases are going to transfer over. We need to do prorations of rents, utilities, and of course, always, taxes and insurance and those things. But it's you need somebody that's really good with detail. And a lot of times on the closing statement, I've seen where maybe we didn't get a rent for this, or we got to go look at the deposits that are being held that are going to be transferred. So it takes a real team of professionals to make sure it closes nicely.
Yeah, and it's kind of like on the financing side. I have to say I don't do commercial financing, as you know, lending. I do residential, and I really believe if you're going to do commercial lending, you want to focus and be an expert in that arena, because it's totally different than residential. And I would imagine exactly the same on the escrow side as on the lending side. So, Lisa, the Cascade Team Property Management Division, what are the fees associated, and how does that work with the service?
Sure. So we have a portfolio of probably, I think we're close to 60 properties right now. I took over as managing broker a couple years ago over property management. And so we have single family homes, and then I'm the only portfolio manager that handles the multifamily right now. So we have 4 property managers right now. For single family homes, it's 8% per month of the monthly rent as our fee. And then there's a leasing fee that's usually equal to 1 month's rent. So those are pretty standard fees. When we roll, let's say that you have a house that you want to lease, and you also want me to manage it for you, then we'll usually give you some type of a discount, because as you know, commissions are always negotiable.
Yes.
So those are our fees, and we do have full service property management. Multifamily, the banks will only let us charge 5% on commercial. So, but we do have lots of units, so we do 5% on multifamily.
Got it. And Lisa, I know that your role in branch manager of the new Snoqualmie office. So congratulations.
Yes,
and can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So Frank and I just opened the Snoqualmie branch of the Cascade Team in July.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And so it's to service the Snoqualmie Valley, but as you know, we go everywhere, especially with Franken Business and Commercial. So everything business, commercial goes, and light commercial, not big, office complexes. That all comes into Franken, of course, property management to me. Our office has grown, though. I have added one agent that I've known for years. She does only high end. I have another one that specializes in new construction. And then I have another one that specializes in the local area. Then we have our 2 business brokers, and then I'm specializing in multifamily. So real diverse office, which is nice. It's small and quaint and cute right off of downtown Snoqualmie.
Well, congratulations again on the new office. And you guys are doing some amazing things and really can be that whole what's the word I'm looking for, when you got everything packaged together to where you can take care of everything.
We call that one-stop shopping.
That's exactly what I was trying to think of. Lisa, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and move over to your husband here, and Frank, have a conversation about you, a little bit more on the coaching and the business value. I know you work with the commercial side, but I know the two of you just got back from a trip a few weeks ago, and can you share a little bit about what was that trip?
Well, we wanted to get away for a vacation and thought this would be a nice place to go. So we went over to the Dominican Republic, primarily for me to meet with some world-class coaches from everywhere, Australia, Europe, all around the country, Canada. And it was just an amazing 3 or 4 days I spent with those guys. And what I was trying to do, my attempt to do, was not only to learn more from them, but to partner with some of them to bring their expertise to this area.
Nice.
Because what I see as a business broker is I see too many businesses selling for too little, and I see buyers buying businesses that they really don't know how to operate and run very well, and they fail very quickly. So if we can bring that coaching arm in early enough, we can save those businesses, or at least for the ones that are about to sell, bring more value to those businesses and make them worth more for the seller.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting in the coaching program with in buying and in the commercial arena. I believe coaching for anything that we're doing is hiring experts that can help counsel you and position you to maximize your profit. So what are you planning? What are the big plans for the new year?
Well, we're like I said, we're working with coaches from around the world, and we're doing a lot of referrals back and forth in that regard. But as far as our local businesses, that we're focusing on working with businesses to bring their value up. That's the key. We want to increase value, because no matter what your profits are, or what your sales and your expenses are, the key factor is the business value when you get ready to sell. What is that seller's discretionary income, and what is a multiple to bring the number to that value? So that's what we're focused on. And we're focused on growing that arm this year.
Got it. So, Frank, with the coaching techniques and the coaching business, is it for any business, even with real estate brokers and brokerages?
Yeah, if it works for one business, it'll work for another. So it's just a matter of plugging in the right people and making it happen.
Got it. So you believe in building value in business. What exactly do you mean by that, Frank?
Well, like I said, it's when we get the total revenue minus all the expenses, we come up with a number called the seller's discretionary earnings, and that's the number that I look at. It's basically the net profit plus the owner's salary and that sort of thing. We add that all together. Then there's a multiple for every type of business that's been worked through since 20 years, Lisa. I think they've been working on coming up with these different multiples. And we use those multiples and multiply that times the SDE. That gives us the value. We price businesses pretty much based on that number. It's about as good as you can come up with it without having to go out and do a bunch of comps. And we can do comps as well, like you do on houses.
Sure.
But we lean toward the SDE multiple.
So, Frank, in helping businesses and business owners and the value that you're bringing, is it before the sale, after the sale, both?
I'd love it if everyone was before the sale.
Got it.
Because the goal is to bring more value to the owner.
Yes.
However, I run up on these guys every day that just says, I want out, I want it sold, I want to be done, I'm done. And when that happens, we're happy to oblige them and help them sell their business. But The other side of that is when the new buyer comes in, it's great to work with that new buyer to build that business into something that he can be proud of and actually make a really nice living for him and his family.
Yeah, and if they reach out to you early enough, I could imagine that the coaching and really helping to strategize, you might be able to save their business and get them back and motivated, excited.
Yeah, that's the key, is getting in early enough. Just talking to one of our coaches up in Canada this morning, and he's just was just contracted with a company starting 4 years in advance. He's going to be working with these folks for about a year, building a plan that they will take into the next 3 years and then put their business up for sale at the end of the 4th year.
And it may seem like 4 years is a lot, but really I would imagine it wouldn't. When you're talking about a business and, you know, all of the things that are happening, really the preparation and making that move and that transition, I would imagine would be very important. How important is an exit strategy when considering the purchase of a small business or a startup business?
Yeah, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
In my mind, the most important thing about any business plan is the exit strategy. How do I get out of this if I've acquired a mess, or if I've got something that's really, really good? How do I focus on growing it and selling at a different date and time?
Yeah.
So exit strategy, in my mind, is the most critical part of a business plan.
Well, Frank, thank you so much for coming in. Lisa, it was a pleasure having you here as well. And it was a great show today. Lots of information that we covered. And I look forward to having both of you back in studio again soon.
Thank you. Our pleasure.
It's a pleasure.
And this is your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, signing off for the day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will look forward to talking with you same time, same place, right here at 1150 a.m. at KKNW.
The preceding program was paid for by Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 7233. Tina Mitchell, MLO 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Gateway Mortgage Group. Contact your local branch for more information.